I'd like to just invite you guys to throw out your thoughts and questions as well, make it as interactive as possible. I have over here and over here.
One thing I haven't heard you guys discuss, it's, Kostin just kind of touched on it a little bit, but the idea of throttling connections of people who have bot infections, things like this.
At the ISP level.
Yeah, at the ISP level, I mean, it's sort of just pushing them down to a trickle and making it so painful that they, eventually figure out that they have a problem and have to fix it on their own. Right. Seems like that gets you out of the pickle of, hey, you've alerted this person to a problem, now it's your responsibility to help them fix it.
How do you get around the issue of, as Brian asked, and as well, another, as you know, the incentivizing ISPs to do it? I mean, they have no financial incentive to do it, so how do you?
I disagree maybe a bit. I think they do have an incentive to do this because obviously the huge traffic, the spam, is actually costing them money. And I know that in some countries now they're talking about, capping the bandwidth, 200 gigabytes per month in Canada, so these kind of things. So the traffic on the internet, it does cost money, and a computer which is part of a botnet, it will cost the ISP money in the end. So I think you're saying throttling the connection instead of cutting it. Personally, I don't think they will be open to this idea because in the end they will see that their internet is slower. So they'll say like, my internet provider sucks, okay, let's switch to another one. On the other hand, if you cut it, they'll call the technical support. My internet doesn't work. What's your name? That's my name. So, sir, you have a botnet infection. You should get a security suite and install it and get rid of the problem. We'll reconnect you to the internet for the moment, but if you don't get rid of the problem, we'll cut you again in 3 days.
Right. So the issue of the impediment to throttling is the fact that people just move to another ISP. They think their ISP sucks.
Well, there are two sides of this. In a country where I live and work in Latvia, we had quite a major uproar last summer when an outfit called Spam House found a number of addresses, IP addresses that were, they alleged were, and possibly indeed were, CNC servers. But they shut down or blacklisted a huge number of other addresses, causing a lot of grief and trouble and yelling and screaming, at least in email between the local CERT authority and Spam House. That's on the one hand. That's what happens when you have sort of private organizations claiming to work for the common good to do that, to do this sort of thing and act against botnets and command and control servers. But the other thing is, in the common law countries, there's something called, well, there's laws against trespass everywhere, but in the common law countries, there's the whole idea of nuisance and the right to abate a nuisance. It is not right for you to trespass on your neighbor's property, but if your neighbor has ignored a dead horse in his yard for the past 3 weeks and it smells, and there are animals taking it apart and flies coming into your property, you can go in there and you can drag the thing away or burn it or bury it and then go away once you've done that, and you have used your right to abate that nuisance. Can we not apply that kind of legal theory? I don't know if that applies in some of the other jurisdictions, but in a common law jurisdiction, one could make that argument. I was abating a nuisance. I, as or you guys as Kaspersky, put an executable on all the computers of the botnet because all of these computers were dead horses in the neighbor's yard.
Yeah, I would like to support this position, and it's probably, let's not call it an example of a dead horse, but something more dangerous, like probably, I don't know, radioactive materials in your garage that actually not only make harm to you and to inhabitants of your house, but also to your neighbors. And this is much more dangerous, and this is probably the better analogy of infected machines.
Kostin?
Right, I wanted to give a counter example to you, based maybe on culture, Japanese culture, and maybe imagine a case when actually that guy, I don't know, he has his religion asks him to keep a dead horse in his yard, you know, for religious purposes.
So leave the dead horse.
Right, but I think it's, you know, it's too extreme example. But maybe here you know, the point that you have the right to go into his garage and to remove the nuclear bomb, you know, and dismantle it. But obviously here, I think that it's if I were to ask, let's say, Ryan, can you please go into that guy's garage, and he has, by the way, he has a plutonium bomb inside. Please dismantle it, okay? And probably you will not, let's say, be willing to do it. I'm not sure if you will be able to do it. Maybe you will. Not questioning your technical skills as a nuclear bomb technician. But obviously, it's a need for qualified people to do that kind of thing. And the question is, should the police hire the qualified people to do that, or should the technical guys do it on themselves?
We have 2 minutes. Tilman, you wanted to weigh in on that question as well?
Yeah, I feel similar than Vitaly. I also like the idea, but I would also like to mention that we are at the very beginning of the discussion right now, so we are not aiming at a large-scale approach, but I think I would rather compare it to self-defense, right? So there is a specific threat, a botnet that is actively attacking some site, and we need to come up with a solution. So maybe that's, yeah, even better analogy.
Yeah, answering Kostin's question, I think that should be you know, work of law enforcement and good experts together, because law enforcement are missing technical expertise. We have expertise, but we are not supported. It's not, you know, a private business objective to, you know, get the unauthorized access and forcibly clean the machines. So we should be supported from the law, and that's why we should work closely with law enforcement, not only Kaspersky, but the whole industry.
Thank you guys very much. You know, the objective of this discussion was just to spur some sort of beginnings of some sort of conversation to determine what in the past has not worked, where we are today, and maybe where we need to go in the future. So hopefully we've succeeded in spurring some sort of discussion. So thank you very much, and thank you guys.
Thank you.